Every time I begin watching one of these shows, I tend to go in with an open mind. Of course there will be cliches. Of course there will be overused character archetypes we have seen a million times already. And of course there will be generic tropes we have grown so tired of seeing. Despite all of that, I still look forward to watching rom-com series because it's still so much fun. But after I watched Rent a Girlfriend, it was surprisingly not what I expected. Instead of being a typical harem, turns out to be quite different. One character in particular has led me to this position. If you have read the title of this video, then you already know that I'll be talking about the notorious Nanami Mami, a character who received such an insanely negative reception that may even rival that of Gabi from Attack on Titan. I'm here to make my case on why Mami is supposed to be hated and why that very notion makes her such an amazing character. Nanami Mami is briefly introduced in the first episode as the inciting incident for Kasuya's internal conflict. She was his first ever girlfriend, and the relationship abruptly ended in a rather bittersweet fashion. Mostly bitter for Kasuya, to be honest. She casually dumped him out of nowhere and claimed to have fallen for someone else. It's not until a few episodes into the show when she is officially introduced along with Kasuya's other friends in college. From her introduction until the very end of the season, the viewer's general consensus surrounding Mami is that of a shallow, manipulative, selfish, and an all-around horrible person. This appears to be the case with the Japanese audience as well. During a collaborative event between Don Quixote Company and Rent a Girlfriend, the merchandise for all the heroines from the series sold out except for Mami. However, I believe that her negative reputation stemmed from a misconception of how we're supposed to perceive her as a character. If we were to perceive her as just another part of Kasuya's harem, then it's understandable why many wouldn't consider her waifu material, compared to the likes of Jisuru, Ruka, and Sumi. What if we instead view her based on her actions and what they indicate about her role in the story? Doesn't she nicely fit the role of an antagonist? Now, I do understand how ridiculous that notion may seem to you. How the hell is she an antagonist? This ain't a goddamn shonen series. She's clearly part of Kazuya's harem of potential love interests. I can assure you that once I've pointed out all of her involvement in the plot thus far, you'll understand my stance a little better. First, let's exactly define what an antagonist is. According to this article from Masterclass, in storytelling, the antagonist is the opposer or combatant working against the protagonist or leading character's goal and creating the main conflict. The portion I would like to emphasize in this definition is the last part, creating the main conflict, because it's the defining characteristic of an antagonist in any story. Take for example a well-respected villain like Makishima Shogo from Psycho-Pass. His actions in trying to challenge the cerebral system directly create conflicts for our main characters, Kogami and Akane, to overcome. So we have established the definition of what an antagonist is supposed to be. But does Mami really fall into this archetype? Well, let's take a look at all of her involvement in the series thus far. When Mami was first introduced, the show didn't give us enough details on what kind of role she would play in the story. She was only known as Kasuya's ex-girlfriend who dumped him, but nothing more. I expected her to only play a supporting role and represents the protagonist's tragic past, similarly to Orimoto Kaori from Oregairu. My expectations got completely thrown out the window when Mami makes her first proper appearance right in the second episode. Mami behaviors toward Kasuya may be sweet and kind, However, her nice demeanor quickly gets shattered when she reveals a cold-hearted stare filled with animosity. A stare directed towards her friends for even mentioning her situation with Kasia. Fast forward to the scene at an izakaya. Mami becomes more proactive as she tries to jokingly insult Kasia to indirectly provoke Jisuru. From this, Mami is seemingly indifferent to Kasia suddenly getting a new girlfriend. This builds up a false sense of hope, which reinforces Kasia's lingering feelings for her. Later on, her actions throughout the beach episodes, such as acting flirtatious and reminiscing about their past, suggests that she is determined to ruin Kasia's new relationship. Her true intentions are cleverly shown during her signature moments of typing out tweets about how she really feels. Some of you may have missed them due to how brief they are, but do check them out since they clarify Mommy's motivation and make things a little less ambiguous. Undeniably, her most significant moment during this portion of the story is when she decides to kiss Kasia. This further cements Kasia's determination to end his false relationship with Chizuru and attempt to pursue Mami once again. Mami would have likely succeeded if not for Kibe stepping in to literally punch some sense into Kasia. After Mami's last attempt of luring Kasia to her fails, she remains mostly absent until the last two episodes of the season. Mami's actions in the season finale are perhaps what encapsulate her role in the story the most. Not only is she the one who raises the stakes right from the start by renting out Jisuru, but also briefly revealing her true self for the first time to her main pair. She directly confronts Jisuru about her job as a rental girlfriend, and even asks Jisuru to end her false relationship with Kasia. Mami is determined to destroy the status quo that Kasia and Jisuru both allowed to happen. Nevertheless, Mami fails to maintain the upper hand when Jisuru was able to appropriately respond back by talking about how much she learned about love from spending time with Kasia. Jisuru then asks Mami to reconsider whether Kasia can be the one who makes her happy. Both shock and anger, Mami tells Jisuru that is none of her business before walking away. Aside from the shenanigans with Ruka in the middle of the season, Mami is the cause of every prominent conflict in the story that isn't the outcome of Kazuya's own pathetic nature. She's the reason Kazuya got depressed and decided to rent a girlfriend. She tries to make Kazuya look bad in front of Jisuru. She makes moves on Kazuya to give him false hope. And she jeopardizes the main character's status quo by renting out Jisuru. In addition, Mami acts as a foil to Jisuru. Both are excellent actors who hide behind a likable facade. The difference would be that one is genuinely a kind-hearted person, while the other is selfish and ill-intended. With all that said, it is undeniable that Mami is practically the villain of Rent-A-Girlfriend. Besides her narrative and thematic significance, her dynamic with the rest of the cast is always so entertaining to watch. From the back and forth between her persona and her real self, to her effortlessly creating tension in any scene she's in. Perhaps the highlight of Mami is none other than the confrontation between her and Jisuru in the season finale. The stake in that last episode is as high as ever, where the most threatening character finally learns our protagonist's big secret. Right after the karaoke scene, the situation escalates to its boiling point when Jisuru decides to directly question Mami's motivation. Mami, who has had the upper hand until now, is thrown off by Jisuru's genuine effort to understand her. Jisuru's question to her about Kasia cuts right into Mami's insecurity that motivated her to do any of this in the first place. Her irrational obsession with Kasia. Is it a drive for revenge? Is it irritation caused by her inability to understand love? Or is there something more to it that she herself doesn't even know? Nanami Mami is everything I would despise in a person. Superficial, manipulative, petty, and selfish. She is without doubt the furthest thing from someone you would want as a friend, let alone a romantic partner. Nevertheless, seeing this sort of individual represented in a genre that's primarily known for its comedic endeavors rather than narrative progression makes Rent a Girlfriend a little more enticing than others of its kind. Having Mommy play the role of a reoccurring antagonist is surely a dynamic I would like to see more of. I'm frankly tired of one-off villains or female antagonists that become part of the harem after just a few episodes. I'm not saying Rent a Girlfriend is a perfect rom-com, and it has quite a few issues as well. Like many others, it relies on misunderstandings to create conflicts or maintain the status quo. Moreover, Ruka turns out to be such an underwhelming character despite her strong introduction. Mommy is simply a vital aspect that made Rent a Girlfriend super enjoyable to watch in spite of those flaws. Indeed, you're supposed to hate Nanami Mommy, but if many have idolized villains in fiction who are total scumbags, I too adore Mommy from the bottom of my heart. Is all of this rambling just an excuse to say that Mommy's actually best girl? Perhaps it is, but remember that this is just an opinion of some guy on the internet. Nothing more, nothing less. Thank you for watching, and remember, tsundere is still the best dere.